Cal, basically, let's start with what is 5G as far as you understand it?
Well, to be blunt, my opinion is it's a weapon system. Um, and the sooner you come to that realization, the better, even though that's a hard thing to swallow. It's better to deal with the truth than to be in some kind of deception or an illusion. Because if you're in an illusion, you will act according to the illusion rather than the facts. So coming to the truth is really important to get free. So it is my opinion that it's a weapon system. It's designed that way. Everything that I've seen, I'm not a scientist or anything like that, but everything that I've seen, it's well thought out, and it's actually, when you see the depth of it, it is beyond, in my opinion, beyond what man could come up with. I'll just put it that way. It's very complex, and this information came from either somebody very smart or outside this realm. It's kind of mind-boggling. With that all said, people are going about petitioning or going to class action type suits or trying to change legislation. This is being rolled out beyond the idea of countries. It's worldwide, so no one country or no one set of laws has like 100% effect on the whole thing. You may be able to regionally do certain things, but worldwide, it's moving forward.
Now, I just wanted to ask you, if I can interject for a sec, to talk about like what a lot of activists are saying. They're mainly saying, well, this hasn't been tested properly. We don't know if it's safe, so it should be stalled. So they're taking that angle. But for you, like, it has been tested and they know exactly what it's doing.
Yeah, again, that's the illusion that it's somehow this is an oversight or a mistake. What's happening? Because a lot of people can see that this is harmful, but they're wondering why this is coming about, and why hasn't this been tested? Why can't we see the tests? Because it is a weapon system, it is not designed to be safe. It's designed to cause damage and or death. Like any other weapon system, you wouldn't, like during the Second World War when they put mines in people's fields, if you went to your government and said, I think there's some dangerous things in my ground and I really want these to be tested for safety, and that tank that's going down the street, I think that's against the Motor Vehicle Act, because I'm pretty sure they shouldn't be having that type of vehicle on the road. They would look at you like are you insane?
Yeah. They're just not seeing things the way they are.
The way they are. So it's not about that mine was put there for benevolent reasons and they just forgot to test it. They tested it. They know what it does, and if you step on that thing, it will blow your leg off. They know that.
And it's the same with 5G.
This is the same thing with 5G. They know exactly what it's doing. And some of the science that I've seen, and even some very brilliant speakers, they talk about the certain frequencies that you're using and the way they packet the digital information, etc., and the effects on the body. They're studying all this, and they think it's an oversight that why aren't they seeing this? Like this is so wrong. It's because it's designed to do that.
Right.
And as soon as you can get your head around that, then you know what it is you're dealing with, and then you will start to look outside of that little box you're in. That this hasn't been tested. It's been fully tested. It's just tested for harm, not for safety.
And we were talking earlier, and you were saying that they've tested it and they've seen when it has such effects as to affect people immediately. They realize, well, that won't work because people will automatically see it's a danger and they'll shut it down. So they have to have something that causes damage, but at a rate that can't really be picked up right away.
Subtle, and this took them a long time. So, I had somebody gave me a classified document going back somewhere between the First and Second World War, and they started dabbling with these types of technologies back then, and some of the results were instantaneous, and or the next generation there would be like a massive birth defect. So like you would, you could put two and two together very quickly. But what we're seeing now is these things are subtle, and there are a few people who are extra sensitive that are tipping us off that there's a problem, but most of us aren't even aware of, don't really feel it as much. And but it's still having an effect because it's happening at us on the subtleties of your body,
cellular level, and
and even at the because we operate on Schumann resonance, which is the resonance of the planet. All our systems are based on those frequencies, so we are frequency built. We're built that way. Our subtle bodies, etc., operate on that. Our DNA even operates on frequencies, and so they're dabbling with that, and they're trying to change things, and so they understand how it works.
So would you say that this is a completely different thing from 3G, 4G, being like, a telecommunications network sort of setup, right? Where you're getting, with 5G, you're going to get faster downloads, and that's what mostly people are talking about, right? Is this something that is completely a new thing? They're installing a weapon system and camouflaging it as the next generation of telecommunication system?
Well, from my experience in other arenas and just some of the research I've done, I would, and this is my opinion, I would say that the whole cellular thing was a setup for this, so that you would slowly agree to all this. So once we're like, you can see that everybody's addicted to these wireless devices now. Like if you travel, like I travel transit a lot, and there are very few people that aren't looking down at some kind of gadget, and like very few. So we're very addicted to these things, and we all have them, and then downloading speeds for gaming become an issue, and people want more speed, more. So they've created that desire and that we want it, or we at least like it, and therefore now they can move into a weapon system, and we won't be as alarmed. If they came out with these gadgets 20 years ago and started putting them up, we would all be like, "What's that?" Mm-hmm. But because it's been a slow boil, we're not. How the analogy of the frog, if you slowly boil the water, they don't notice as much. So right. You drop a frog into boiling water and they instantly jump. So it's the same thing. They're very historically they've been very smart about things. It's not the intelligence. They have a long-term plan. They don't do things too quickly. They're very subtle. They create the problem first so that the solution comes. Right. So like it's always the same MO. So if you look at the fact that cellular phones came in, it makes sense that was the end goal in the first place, and that a lot of this technology was thought about back then.
So what would you say then, from their point of view, is the agenda of installing 5G, which is to say this weapon system that's going to be in all, the plan is to have it in all the neighborhoods, all the cities. What's the end goal for that being set up for them?
Well, one can only theorize about that. It has the potential to reduce the population drastically and fairly quickly or slowly. It has, when you get into the subtleties of what's going on, they're putting nanochips inside of us and quasi-living organisms that are partly technological and partly organic, and they're using live fetal it's even hard to say, but anyway, they're using fetuses, aborted fetuses in numerous ways to get that alive part, and it's quite dark what they're doing. And so they're trying to take biological things that we would normally call biological systems and turn them into technological systems, or fuse that at least in some way. So the ultimate goal would be to get men and women into a robotic type of state of being for ultimate control, so that, dig the hole, it's more like a robot that doesn't have, or has less and less of its own thoughts.
So less will, less choice.
Less of all the human experience that we now have.
Right. So and would you say it's possible that also this being a weapon system plays into the targeted individual sort of phenomenon that's playing out, where they feel like if someone's being a dissident, if someone's causing them trouble, they can actually target that particular individual?
Oh yeah,
that goes into it.
Yeah, that goes without saying. You won't be able to hide from the surveillance, because they want to have it as this is their, this is what they're trying to do. Whether they can actually physically do it or not, that's another question. But the idea that's being put out there is they will have full control over watching everything that's going on, listening. It's to the point where they can detect a heartbeat underground, and like it gets into some pretty crazy areas.
So complete control, and no real way to escape the system if this all gets installed.
Technologically, yes. There's no way in what we would call 3D to escape it. No, but there, the creation is bigger than that. So there are avenues.
Okay, so let's talk about, because we've painted the picture. Not a very desirable future if we allow 5G to be installed. What can we do about it? What power do we have in this case? So this brings in your whole in power movement, right?
The whole thing is, like I said, I believe it started with the whole cellular technology in the first place, which led up to this, and the computer age. And but because we're agreeing with this, that's how they're getting away with it. So this is a military move, but it's not military in the way that we've experienced it before, where an army out of a country or even a religion would deploy weapons or move troops, etc. Because that's a military action, and there's rules of engagement in that. What they're doing, all of the 4 agendas that we're dealing with, are all being done commercially. And so it's beyond countries. It's in commerce. It's Sprint. It's Verizon. It's BC Tel. It's that's who's actually deploying the weapons. So those are all corporations, and they all have to deal with laws of corporations, contract laws, and then if you get into the ancient ones, you have to deal honestly in your contracts. You have to give there's offers and acceptances and all these things. So because I can see all that, that's how they're doing it. And so they're putting offers out there, and we're going, yeah, this sounds good. Faster speeds, 5G sounds way better than 4G and 3G, right? These are all misnomers. So they're getting our agreement with this, and that's how they're moving it forward. And it's called tacit agreement.
Agreement.
Yeah, so the only thing you have to do in any kind of commercial thing is conditionally accept an offer. And because they've made everybody merchants through the birth certificate, which we talked about before,
yes,
you are a merchant. And therefore, merchant laws apply. And merchant laws definitely apply to them, because these are corporations and corporate type people. And all they are interested in, for the most part, is money. the very top, they understand what this is, but anybody down the pyramid is money is the motivator. So that's all you have to do is understand how it works. Do a conditional acceptance. I accept your 5G, or I accept your vaccinations, or I accept your smart meter, or I accept your spraying in the air upon you proving it's safe. Now the safety comes in.
Okay.
So because now there's a contractual obligation.
There's a condition to agreement.
To show. So now you have now brought in let's see the safety testing. If you don't show up with safety testing within X amount of days, then I'm going to assume that these things are not safe, and therefore we are now in a tort situation where you are harming me. Here's my fee for you harming me. It's that simple.
Okay.
So that's what you do. And that's, like I said, upper people go and they run. Lower people go, that's ridiculous.
Right.
But the higher up you deal with things, the more it affects the rest of the pyramid. You remove the very top where the money is, how are these people going to get paid? Are they going to keep doing it?
Right.
No. So it's about attacking the thing at the highest thing that you can understand. And even that pyramid in 3D, there's realms outside of this, and when you can start to understand that and state your claim there, and or your case or your commercial process, your contract, that's when you start to see real results. So this is about us getting together, doing something with one mind and one intention and one one move, and it will have an effect larger than the group. Like it becomes an entity unto itself, like a flock.
Okay. Now let's take a practical look at a hypothetical situation. You're in a town, so you're a person in a town, and you don't want 5G in that town. Now, is there something you can do prior to any announcement that they're going to install 5G, or does it have to be predicated on there being an announcement that 5G will be coming into the network, and who's doing it and that sort of thing?
Well, because I've been around the block a couple of times, I learned a few tricks from them, and that's the English language can be I don't want to say manipulated, but it's kind of like that. You can make words work to your advantage, and I learned that because they were working to my disadvantage. So I learned that how they do it to some degree. I'm not a master, but I'm pretty good at it. So the document is worded along the smart meter, and any meter at or near my dwelling and or workplace. So in the 5G, it will be worded in the same way. So it doesn't have to be in your town. It has to be at or near your town or where you live.
And that being what kind of area? Or you just leave it like that?
We also have, well, I think you're getting it. But for clarity, what we said elsewhere in the document is all words are as the claimant understands them and defines them, so that it's clearly written down. No. And
It's in plain English.
Plain English.
But there's a sort of a vagueness about the specific meaning of what near means, how near is, and
exactly
that sort of thing.
Yeah. So it protects everybody, so there's no, they don't have to define what near is. They get to define it at the time. And the thing about contracts, and I'm saying this right out here, so the other side's watching this.
Yeah.
You can strike that clause out of the contract where the claimant gets to define the words. It's just a negotiation. Mm-hmm. You're given the opportunity to do it.
Right. And are you saying that they'll never take that opportunity?
Because it means they're agreeing in principle. It's now a counter offer,
That's
and now
very, yeah,
so they're stuck.
right.
And that's the beauty of commerce. Once you understand the old Lex Mercatoria, it was like this. It was very dynamic, and therefore you would never try and take advantage of another merchant, because it would double down on you. It would. If I tried to claim that you owed me $1 million and I was making it up, and then you went, I accept that I owe you $1 million upon you proving that I do. And if you don't prove, you owe me $2 million. You would never ever try it,
Right.
because it's gonna come out, and I'm gonna end up paying more than what I'm trying to scam. The problem is they turned us all into merchants, and they said, yeah, you got the opportunity to call us on all our BS, but they didn't tell us how it worked. They didn't even tell us that existed. And then there's a legal maxim that says the ignorance of the law is not an excuse.
Right.
So you were supposed to find out. Well, I found out the hard way, and I'm here to tell you how it works. That's
Right.
it. It's this, it is what it is. I didn't invent this.
Right.
I just had to find out the hard way, like everybody else. And now it's not as hard because I'm telling you, but I had to find out the hard way. And then once I learned it, that's when everything changed for me.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and we're all the beneficiaries of that process that you went through. And the whole idea is now we've got some really valuable information, and let's put it into action.
Exactly.
So I'm trying to understand, like, I live in Mississauga, and I create that document. Who do I send it to? How does that work exactly?
Well, you have to figure out who it is that's doing this at different levels. And so what we're suggesting is each person send a 4, and we're going to have an automated system that will track everybody that's doing this, and not in an evil way. We just want to be organized. So we will keep track of who you're sending to, and however many others have sent to that same person, so we don't end up sending too much to one and not enough to another. So we want to be organized in this, like any other force. And so we suggest that each person send a 4. It keeps the cost down. You can send them more, but it's sort of designed for 4. So you want to try and do somebody that's at your utility, and or depending on which thing you're talking about. But in terms of 5G, somebody at the utility or the carrier, the person like the company installing it. In some cases, there's a separate company that's actually doing the install, even though the contract's with the main telecom.
Subcontracted out, yeah.
Yeah. And then you want to do a politician that you feel is part of the problem. And you can generally people in their area know who's who. And then maybe somebody at a federal level or even at a world level, like UN or, Illuminati. I'll just throw that word out there. People can take that.
You have any mailing addresses for us?
No, we're also doing. We're asking people to send in their respondents ahead of time, and then we will double check to make sure everything's accurate and make sure these people exist and their addresses are correct, and then you can pick it out of a database. So it'll be. We want to try and make everything as accurate and make sure there's no mistakes or wrong people getting anything or anything. We're trying to keep everything on the up and up and as straightforward as possible, and be able to verify each person's process.
Yeah.
Because there's reasons for that going forward. So.
And make it feel like a cohesive group process that's working together.
Absolutely. Right? There's nothing better than feeling, there's nothing worse than feeling like you're the only, you're alone and, I'm coming up against this thing. But when you start to see the numbers growing, you feel like there's something happening. You're a part of something that is, has some has something to it. And as that grows, you'll start to see the effects of people leaving office. They will be reciprocal of each other, which will make this thing grow more, which will make more people leave. And so it'll become self-evident, like the document said, and you'll see the light and the dark. The light will be expanding and the dark will be equally disappearing.
Right. Wow, that's pretty epic stuff that we're talking about.
It is very epic, but this was foreordained. Like, if you believe in that kind of thing, this is what has to happen for us to move to the next level. And they've pushed far enough. For those of us that are starting to sense this, but more people are going to sense it one way or the other. And we're at the stage where either this works or it doesn't, and there's no. You can't be in the middle anymore. You can't just sort of carry on with your life as it was, like one way or the other. It's that's it. Like, there is no more. Everything's okay, and I'll just carry on with my thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we always talk about, personal evolution and growth, and also we talk about change starts within, right? And there's this sense, and I've always had this sense when I've heard you speaking, that you're learning things, and you're not learning things to be able to take advantage of the system, trick the system to your own personal profit. We talked about the 300 million lien that you put against the Queen, but it's not about getting 300 million from the Queen. It's about learning the process of the power that you have inside yourself, right?
Yeah, and even to that end, like the empower, like our inner workings of the like our corporate structure, for lack of a better word. I could have easily done this like as just like me, but I set it up so that there was a board, so that even I'm accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And whether I really needed that or not is debatable. There's no way to know one way or the other, but I set it up that way so that there was no question about that. It's not even a possibility.
Yeah.
So these were decisions that were made, and everything that we've done is like that. We're trying to be as clean as possible, and nobody's perfect, but we are very cognizant of that what we're doing has to be clean.
Yeah. It has to be a model
of the new thing.
Yeah, of what you're replacing this old system, which was totalitarian, and one guy says he's the king and he's doing this, with the system where nobody's above anybody else. Yeah. And there's sort of, like you said, a collection of equals all contributing to the conversation, yeah, and having their say, and eventually you gain consensus, and you go forward and you have that collective power.
Exactly.
Right.
So we're board run at the core, and then we have concentric, people are given more authority, because you like, I can't run everything. I can't know everything that's going on as this thing goes up big. Like, it's not possible. So you have to give people full, pretty much full autonomy.
Yeah.
And people are rising up into those spots, and understanding the I wouldn't say the gravity of it, but the seriousness of this. And we reiterate that if you're going to hold somebody accountable, you have to be accountable.
Yes.
And we take that seriously. Like, we tell you up front, if you're not prepared for this, and like we don't judge anybody, about their religion or their lifestyle or their beliefs or anything. We have core beliefs that transcend every religion.
Right.
Like, we're mostly coming from a Bible point of view, but the what we're putting forth is just universal things that make sense for a society and a group of beings to cohabitate on the planet. It just makes sense. Like, don't take your brother's stuff. Don't kill him.
Right.
Don't sleep with his wife. That kind of thing. It just pretty much the 10 Commandments, and the whole common law is built on those premises. And going way back, but it's just kind of been lost. So
Well, do unto others as
as you would have them do unto you,
right? As the basic principle.
yeah, and that's how Jesus broke it down. But when you really think about that, what he was subtly saying was, he is you.
Right.
If you read it that way, then it all of a sudden takes on a different meaning. Love your brother as yourself, as he is you. You are me, I am you. Like, there is no separation. Like, that's an illusion. And if you can understand that and live like that, why would I want to hurt you? I'm hurting me.
Right. And you're exactly talking about, the way the organization is structured is for everybody to see that. We're working together, we're working as one, we are one. This is the next step in our evolution. This is where we're going. The way the company is modeled is after that. The actions we take are after that. It's just like, the Declaration of Independence. They say, we really believe in our hearts that we are doing the right thing, the just thing. We are being honest and truthful, and we are using our integrity. We believe we have support from higher power.
Yep.
When we stand in this place. And doing so is not only effective, but it's the greatest experience you can have in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're finding that. And if you talk to just some of the people that have come up in the last year or so, they all say this without prompting. Like, if you get them alone, they're like, I've changed, and I can't explain it, but it's like something's happened to me, and I like it, but I don't know. It's just, you just start to change. You start to become part of the thing, and you can choose any time not to, because there's a lot of people who have gone, wow, I don't like that, and then they leave, and some of them don't come back, but others do. They kind of, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I'm actually going to come back, and and we just accept them, and like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Everybody's free. And it's not a top-down thing. I mean, there has to be some organization that looks top-down, but it's not like that. It's more of a trying to build something that, in my opinion, God can actually inhabit. And that's what we need here. And we just haven't been able to set that up for so many years, because we have belief systems that have been drummed into us, and we act a certain way, and we're creating a reality that's going to end up in our own demise.
Right.
So we just need to realize that, turn around the other way, and 180 degrees, and then the reality will follow us that way. It'll just become this other thing.
Yeah. I mean, we have to take some ownership in the state of the planet the way it is, based
Absolutely.
on the level of consciousness we've been living at. Right?
Yes.
And so again, that's why in the process of this conscious activism, which is what we talk about a lot at Collective Evolution, you're gaining awareness, you're becoming more grounded in what brings us together instead of what elevates us over others. We're coming together, and we're then modeling the type of civilization that we want to create in the future, where government is organized, again, around the Declaration of Independence, where we want the government to protect our freedoms. We want the government to protect us, to be able to live and to be able to be happy. And so they're working for us. Where the real power is we are human beings, and we have these rights, and they are granted to us by the Creator.
Well, I take it another step, and then we have more than rights. The rights have the connotation that there is somebody who is in control of me in some way, and therefore I have to temper that
Right.
in some way, and therefore I get to have a little bit of space. I believe it's actually the opposite, and that we have full dominion here, and we don't need protection from anything once those things are gone. Mm-hmm. And it's coming. Either we're leaving or they're leaving, but I can tell you this, we're not cohabitating anymore.
Right.
I know that.
So this goes beyond where we were at when the Declaration of Independence was signed, because there seemed to be still a need for protection against...
Yeah, but if you read those words with that in what I just said in mind, they actually allude to that. And that's what I'm saying about the English language. You can have subtleties in there that anybody that has a knowledge base will read those words a certain way. Mm-hmm. So they're saying the three things that they said: including those, or as well as, or something. So
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, I'll read that. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are
yes,
life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
yes. So that's the thing. So why did they have those word among these? It's not. It's
not
not just.
limited
It's
to
not.
that.
It's not a nice thing. Just let's just throw that in there. They mean that there is more to this than that, but it's at least this. So in the time being, and I think they knew where they were in history. We understand that there are rules of engagement, and you guys have these possessions, like the Queen's Oath says, for a period of time. And I think they knew that they weren't at the stage we are at now, and therefore, yeah, we understand that, but we need to have this. So, and that's what happened with Daniel when you read the story too. It says it. It's not doesn't tell you the whole story, but he looked through some books and figured out, hey, this slavery was supposed to be only for 70 years, and last time I looked, we're over. And because nobody said anything, you guys would just carry on like this forever, wouldn't you? So he invoked whoever was watching this thing, the watchers, and said, no, time's up. The contract is over. So they went from slavery in one day to get all these people out of here, help them rebuild their temple in Jerusalem, and open up the treasury and give them all the gold. It was like that. So I went, that's a pretty big story, and they're not really telling me everything. Like, why is that? Like, that's drastic. Whatever happened there is drastic. Like, that's like, how do you make the king who has these slaves all of a sudden, yeah, get these, like, we're done as of today, like tomorrow out.
But it's like you said, it's almost, most of it wasn't a 3D action. It's an action that invokes something in the higher realms, right?
Yes, and that's what made it so there wasn't an argument. It was like next day kind of thing, like, whoops, yep, sorry. And so I had some of those experiences in my life too, because apparently we have dominion according to the Bible, and so I started acting like that, and I'm getting the same kind of results.
And that's a Pandora's box in itself.
Yep. So all I'm saying is, if I have it, y'all got it too. We just need to come together,
yeah,
and act like that.
And that opens up a whole Pandora's box in itself, right? But specific to 5G, so what InPower is going to be producing soon is a document that is going to allow all of us to participate in this process of, would you call it liability? Like claiming liability is being brought upon us, and therefore,
well, we're going into a contractual agreement in a jurisdiction called Lex Mercatoria, where, because this is a commercial endeavor, we are agreeing to this commercial endeavor because they have to get our agreement, but we are conditionally agreeing upon them proving that it's safe. And we give them a time limit. It's 14 days actually. So just so you know that, if they can't and they don't, then they are agreeing to certain terms by tacit agreement, which is what they've been trying to get from us. We're tacitly agreeing to 5G. So that's how they're operating, and they'll try and pretend like they're not, but I know exactly what they're doing. And so we are using the same tactic. Okay, I see that I've agreed to something, but here's my actual agreement, not a tacit one. I'm going to actually express it in contractual terms in a very clear, concise, full disclosure way. So I will conditionally agree to 5G upon your proof of that it's safe, and if you can't, then I will be charging you a daily fee or a monthly fee or whatever it is, or however we end up with that, but it'll probably be a daily fee. Do we have an agreement? You got 14 days to answer. If you don't answer, then you have agreed. So that's how it works. So at the 14 days, because of Lex Mercatoria and how if things have to be done in a certain way, you have to give them an opportunity to cure. So you go, notice of fault. You didn't answer my question. If that was an oversight or a mistake, or if you need more time, or whatever it is, I'm giving you another 14 days or 7 days or whatever it is. And then after that, that is a default judgment. So then you send a notice of default. So when we send those notices of default, in my personal case, that's when people step down most of the time.
And again, if they respond to that request, that means they accept in principle the counteroffer.
Yes.
And they might have conditions and
yes, and so then the contract would go back and forth until there was a full agreement on both parties' sides.
So say, for example, they gave you some proof of its safety, then that could be examined in detail to see if it actually is proving the safety of 5G or not.
Yes, and they have to swear to it. So that's the thing. It's an affidavit form, so they have to actually perjure themselves.
Okay. Which
adds a whole other level to this thing. So this is the thing about commerce. It's kind of do or die. It's very it's gentlemanly, but at the core of it, it's like, let's get to the bottom of this. Stop lying. We don't have time to prove.
The tide's coming out.
The tide's coming in. We do not have time to prove one way or the other. Like, we're getting to the bottom of this within the next 3 hours.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, you're not going to like what happens to you.
And all the kind of tricks, like, forget about the tricks. You can see what's what. You can see what's true.
Yeah. And so what would happen in those cases is the boat would be seized. Your booth at the fair would be seized. Your stuff, like, literally vigilante people would leave right from there. Not next day, like, right now we're going and taking your stuff until this is until you pay him, or whatever the judgment was. It was dealt with, and that's what this is. Yeah. And they do it to us all the time. Once you see this, you'll see that that's what's happening to you all the time on the with the police and the court system. It's very fast, and it's quick judgments, not this long drawn out common law thing.
Yeah.
They're operating in Lex Mercatoria. And so I just started doing that, and I started with, can you prove you're a court? Oh, well, we weren't expecting that. Well, that's what I want.
On what authority are you making that statement?
Or doing any of this stuff to me.
Right.
So if we're in Lex Mercatoria, then I get my point of view across it contractually, and you put me in jail, it's this amount of, this amount, you arrest me, it's this amount, like that type of thing, right? So you just make it up as you go along, like any other contract.
Right.
It's dynamic.
So when is this paper coming out, this form coming out that helps us to participate in this process?
Well, you can participate with, in my opinion, again, the smart meter one is a better one. It's stronger, and the smart meters are part of 5G anyway. Mm-hmm. They're an integral part. They rolled those out first. It's where 5G touches your home.
Okay.
So think of it in that way. And even though it's already here and we all think it's like no big deal, no, it's a big deal. And there's evidence that the fires, the weird fires where 8 houses in a cul-de-sac are gone and one is pristine. There's targeting involved with that, and the meters were were part of the targeting.
Wow.
So just be aware that the meters are more insidious than you think, and they are part of 5G. So and at the end of the day, all the 4 agendas that we're going to, if you follow the money and or the authority or who's giving the orders, it all ends up at the same spot. It's the same beings doing all of this at the very top. So right. No matter which way you come, we're coming at 4 different ways because everybody comes with the thing that's bothering them the most, and we understand that. We're not trying to funnel anybody, but I am telling you that the meter thing is a strong position from our point of view. because it is on your home and you're supplying the base, and that has extra things attached to it that the 5G is not touching you like that. I mean, it is touching you, but it's not, there's not a clear demarcation point like with the meter.
Okay.
Where this is actually mine and your thing won't work without mine. Therefore, I'm supplying something to make your thing work, and therefore I need to be compensated for my supply. So just be aware of that. As far as the time, we're working on it, but as I said earlier, you know, like I'm not an expert, but I'm working with 2 experts, and it is mind-boggling what this thing is. It's more than what you think, and it goes into under earth, underwater, it's there's something bigger going on than I understand, but I can see the, you know, what its capabilities, but what they're actually trying to do, it's pretty complex. And anybody that I've talked to that has studied this thing, and I asked them this question: is this designed by man? And they go, no. There's something else going on here. They're getting information from other dimensions or whatever it is, but this is technology, the way it's organized and how one thing works off the other. There's something going on with this. So and it's not I'm not afraid of it at all. Like, not at all. I have zero fear of it.
Right.
I understand what it is, and I understand the consequences if it's not stopped. I fully understand what that means. But at the same time, I know we can stop it.
Yeah, it's a call to action, right?
So it's just that, and I'm not guessing at it or hoping even. I'm actually already there. It's just the reality is lagging behind a little bit. That's all. It's all it is to me. It's just I've already moved there. This thing just has to come along
into that future where we've overcome this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where can, if people want more information about what we talked about here, you have a website, right?
Yep, that is inpowermovement.com.
Okay, inpowermovement.com.
Yeah, and so we're just in a transition where we're opening up, we want to open up a platform that can handle worldwide, multi-language, multi-laws, you know, in order to make this thing go as big as we think it can go, as fast as it wants to. So that takes some thought and some technology that can handle without crashing and burning and all that stuff. So, and we have to be compliant with all, you know, just it's a lot. So we're in this transition stage where we're going to open that up. We've already got it, so it's not like a future, like money has been paid, and so we just have to get that thing where it's functioning, and this is speaking to that, and you know, all that stuff. So that's where we're at right now. So within the next few months, you know, at most, we should be able to onboard everybody, and then we're working on the notices of liability at the same time. So we have groups working on each one for each country and languages, and
right.
And people are popping up all over the world. So it's amazing to watch. Like, this isn't me doing this. I'm not that smart. I'm not that clever. I'm not even that motivated to do that. There's something else going on here. I'm just doing my part.
Right.
And my part is, it is important. I'm not tooting my own horn because I went through a training program, for lack of a better word, and that's why, you know, I have to be able to be a part of it, because I know how this thing works, how the, you know, Lex Mercatoria works.
Yeah.
And I went through the hard way, and I know it. You know, I wouldn't say I know everything, but I know enough to deal with what we have to deal with. And if I need to know more, I'm sure I will be trained.
You will be prompted to
walk down that, open that door, go talk to that guy, because that's how it's always been. And you know, when I look back on my life, I can see a definite path, And like I tell everybody, if I was asked at the beginning you need to go over there, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
I went through hell, and because it was day by day and just dealing with what was right in front of me at that time, I was able to get through it. But if I was shown the whole thing, no. And that's why, the guys that signed the Declaration of Independence, I don't know if I would have signed it. I really don't. I'm pretty steadfast, but that, I wasn't there. Maybe I would have signed. I'd be on the borderline, but I'd tell you, I wouldn't be one of these go, oh yeah, I would have signed that in a heartbeat. No, I'm not. Yeah. I'm honest with myself. That's a lot.
That's putting everything on the line.
That was everything on the line.
Life and everything.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Cal, for this discussion, and you can rest assured that Collective Evolution is going to be following the progress that you make on your website and with the documents you're created. We're going to let people know how they can get involved in the In Power movement, how they can be part of the resistance to the 5G being installed in their area, and really start to be part of this awakening that's happening with humanity. So thank you very much for being with us.
Oh, thank you, Richard.